I am here with what feels like all the project bags and a desk full of yarn and finished objects because it has been 4 months since I last updated you on all the things that I have been making. So let's get into episode 6 of my knitting podcast. Hello, welcome to Show and Tell Meg. I'm Megan and I like to make things. Welcome to my craft room and all of the projects that I have had going on since we last had one of these, which turns out to have been like the middle of April. And I'm shocked by how I can simultaneously feel like I have accomplished so much and yet not accomplished very much at the same time in that period of time. You know what I'm talking about. I think we all get that way. Like when we finish a project, we're all excited about it and we think, oh yeah, that's great. And we can look back and see several projects that we've made. And yet at the same time, there's so many projects we want to make or are in the process of making. So we can kind of get this weird thing where we're feeling two opposite feelings at the same time. Does this make sense to other people? It definitely does to me. I feel that way about most things in my life. But I do have a stack full of projects here that are finished in that time period, some of which you've seen, some of which you have not seen. I can look at this and I'm like, yeah, I mean, for 4 months, this is a decent amount of work, plus the other things that are in progress. So let's just dive in and see what it is that I have finished in this time. First off, we have my Florence shawl. This was made back in May, I believe. I did talk about this already in my custom dyed yarn video, that I had this yarn custom dyed for me. And then I talked about it again in my pattern testing video, which was all about how to get into pattern testing if you are interested in it. So this was a test for Zatar Knits, and it was a really fun project. I did detail that a lot in those other videos, so I will link that above if you want to see all the particulars about this project. The next project that I finished was my chicken socks. And I still love these. I haven't worn them realistically. I mean, it's the summer, but I absolutely adore these. I got this pattern out of the Charming Colorwork Socks book. I actually borrowed it from the library, and I basically just used the colorwork chart for the chicken and the toe, and I plugged this into my favorite vanilla sock pattern. I omitted some of the details. They had like a ribbed thing going on the foot, but I wanted to make it longer. They were for shorty socks. So this is basically put into the Colorwork Cuff Club base sock. I made this in Knit Pick Stroll Tweed, and I did that on purpose because it looks like chicken scratch. It looks like something the chickens would eat, right? So this was a combination of the Stroll Tweed, and then there's some Lang Yvole in here for the yellow, and then I believe the white and the red is Knit Pick Stroll and like Bowie and white. So yeah, I really enjoyed these. I think they were very fun to make. You know, just a basic sock. Once I got this done, it was kind of home free. They're really fun to look at. But yeah, I very much enjoy these socks and I look forward to wearing them when it is colder outside. Next up was, shocker, another pair of socks. I basically just knit socks right now. These are the enamel socks, which is also by Zatar Knits, and I was alerted to this because I was test knitting for her. It's a very cool, easy slip stitch purl bump pattern. I don't know if you can really see that texture. And I knit this again in custom dyed yarn that I referenced in my custom dyed yarn video, which will also be linked above if you want to see that. And this was my BMO yarn, which we're going to reference that again in a little bit. I love these. These came out so good and they were such a quick project. Like, this is a free pattern. I totally recommend it. It's very simple to knit, and I think it really sets off a variegated yarn like this. Like, I can still see the texture, but it doesn't take away from all the colors going on in the yarn, which is what I wanted because I had this custom dyed for me. So another great win that I can't wait to wear once it gets cooler. After that, I needed a bit of a palette cleanser, and so I made a project that I have been intending to make for, I don't know, at least like 8 months, maybe a year, but it is this articulated crocheted lobster. So this, I saw this pattern I don't know, over a year ago now, and I was super intrigued by the fact that it is articulated. And I have made so many amigurumi that I don't frequently come across techniques that I don't look at it and go, oh yeah, that's how they do this. I did not really, in looking at it, know how they did this. And so I bought the pattern because I thought it was really cool and I wanted to see how this articulation was achieved. Spoiler alert, it was incredibly easy, but I was happy to support the designer. This pattern was for the lobster pattern by a designer called All From Jade. And I knit that and I crocheted this in Bernat baby blanket sparkle, I believe, in this teal color. And it does have, I don't know if you can even see that. Of course, right when I want to show you, the sun goes away. Ah, you can see it. So it has a sparkly thread that goes throughout this because, I mean, if you're going to make a lobster that's blue, why not make it sparkly, right? I thrifted this yarn. I got a whole skein of it for like $1 or something, which was crazy. I know how much this yarn costs, and I just generally don't like storing it. I think it's incredibly bulky, and I just didn't want to get into the whole like chenille blanket yarn trend. But for $1 at the thrift store, no problem. And so I saw that it was the perfect yarn to make a blue lobster out of, and I did. And he was really fun. I made this over the course of a couple of evenings. And then there's detailed instructions on how you put it together, but it makes it where you can bend him. And I think it's really cool. Very easy though, but I definitely recommend if you're interested in figuring that out as well. She had several patterns that had this kind of articulation, but like I say, it's so much easier once you see it. You're like, oh yeah, at least that was the case with me. And now I have this really cool lobster to show for it. Because sometimes when you're making lots of other things and you have patterns that you're testing, or there's things with deadlines, or other harder projects are not working out the way that you want to, sometimes you just need to make an animal that's ridiculously easy. It's a strategy I have used for years and I absolutely recommend it. Make yourself a frivolous lobster. It's a great palette cleanser. The next finished object I showed in my sock blocking video, which actually all of these socks almost were showed in that video, but these are my ducky socks. Because as a person who has both chickens and ducks in their yard, I could not just knit chicken socks. I had to represent both because I love them both. And so as soon as I saw this pattern, this was a newer pattern from Knit Picks, but this is called like Quackin' socks or something like that on Knit Picks. And as soon as I saw it on one of their advertisements, I had to get this pattern. And I did the same thing. I put the colorwork chart on the Colorwork Cuff Club sock because it's my favorite sock. I love a heel flap and gusset, and I know exactly how to make that pattern fit me. So that's what this is. And I experimented with whacking the color work on the back with a wooden spoon while it was being blocked. And as you can, if you watch that video, you will know, but it doesn't seem to have really done that much, at least not in this yarn. This is a superwash yarn, so maybe that has something to do with it. But I mean, everything does lay really nice and flat inside. Maybe it made it flatter. I don't know. But either way, I have adorable ducky socks, and this is also knit in Knit Pick Stroll because it's my favorite yarn, and I have a stupidly large stash of it in all the different colors. So it worked out great. They're really soft, and I can't wait to wear them in the winter. Next, after that pair of socks, I finished my other testing project that I also referenced in my testing video. These are the illustrated couple socks, and this is from A Bee in the Bonnet Designs. Her name is Lauren Rad, and I was selected as a tester through Yarn Pond. And if you're interested in that, I will link that over here. But I had a lot of fun with these. This was an incredibly simple lace eyelet design up here. It does want to scrunch, and so when I blocked this, I actually pinned it down on my blocking mat to stretch out the calf section. But I used Hobie Dolce sock, and it fades. It has this gradient and these speckles. So I didn't have to do any fancy work to get all of that. And I think it came out really cool. But this is another just really easy background kind of sock project. This was my project that I took around everywhere because it was very portable, very simple to do. And yeah, I think they turned out really nice. And I was really happy to give the feedback on the pattern test. And my last finished object is, guess what? Another pair of socks. Good grief, that's what? One, two, three, 5 pairs of socks in 4 months. That's pretty good considering I also made other things. And I have a lot of progress on other works in progress that you have not seen yet. But this was another pattern test. This one was for Kenya Knits, I believe is her name. And it's called the Sewing Seed Socks. And it's a mosaic knit sock, like the entire sock is done in mosaic knitting. And I did a variegated yarn for the contrast color, which is why you see these kind of mottledy gray blobs. Those, it had some gray in there. If you look really close though, you can see that it's a darker gray. Like there's a more charcoal gray and then there's the more brown gray of the base. But this is another that it's completely knit pick stroll. And so therefore it's just super soft and squishy. I think it would be really soft and squishy no matter what yarn you did because of that basically double layer of yarn the entire way through. I will say these took me so much longer than I thought they were going to, but that's just kind of the nature of mosaic knitting. You know, you have slip stitches that are pulling the previous row upward, and so it makes the whole thing want to go, you know, makes it just want to scrunch a little bit. And so getting through the different sections, it just felt like it took forever. I also kept messing it up. I got to this point on one sock and then completely redid it because it did not fit me. So, you know, the perils of pattern testing sometimes, but I'm happy with the end results. And this isn't released yet, nor is the illustrated couple socks. But once these are released, I will link them if anybody is interested. We've now gotten through what feels kind of like the clerical work because if you regularly watch my channel, you've seen most of those projects, except for the lobster. The lobster does make it worth seeing, in my opinion. But now we have arrived to my works in progress. I'm staring at just a crazy amount of project bags here. Some of these I have mentioned before and might be surprising how little I have done. And then others you have not seen at all. So let's see, which one do I want to grab first? First, let's touch in on my Andy sweater. I actually did an entire video about how Andy Satterland has a Patreon now, and she was talking everyone through designing their own sweater. And so that's the level of her Patreon that I joined, and I was really gung-ho about it. So I made this video. I had everything picked out and planned. And then the rollout of the directions on how to do this were very slow. To me, you know, I was really excited about making this sweater in the summer. She only just put up the call to, okay, you've got all the information, let's cast on, like 2 weeks ago. So I was waiting for all of the information on drafting to get together, right? And she was only releasing it every 2 weeks or something. So it just felt like it didn't go at the pace that I had hoped it would. So I still do have that. I still have my yarn caked up. I've got it all allotted. This is Cascade Sierra Quattro, I believe, and it's the chili pepper color. This is long discontinued, but it's a very vibrant red. It has a little bit of tonal quality to it, and I did do my swatch, and I picked my stitch design, which is actually the honeybee stitch, and I'm going to be doing this in a panel on each side. And I have some of my measurements and stuff listed on a paper, but I wanted to get everything all together before I actually cast it on. So it's still just in that state. And when I started, I thought like, yeah, I'm going to knit this in the summertime and I'm going to have a fun cotton summer sweater. And that just didn't happen because of the pace that it was rolled out at. So I'm still going to be making this, but it hasn't really had any progress that you can see at all. This next project is actually a sneak peek on what's going to be a video in the future. I am making my BMO socks officially. So in my custom dyed yarn video, I talked about how there was this yarn that got away that I always wished that I could have bought, and now you can't get it anymore. And it was from a indie dyer who does self-striping yarn. And, you know, woulda, shoulda, coulda. I tried even after the fact to buy some from people who had it. Nobody ever responded. And then while I was making that video, I actually mentioned, like, you know, this is just striped. Why don't I recreate it with regular yarn? And so I hunted in my stash and I came up with these colors. So this is the sock that we are recreating, essentially. This is someone else's photo. I will credit them with their picture. But I had these colors in my stash. This is all Cascade cotton socks. So these are a cotton nylon blend. And I've wanted to try this yarn because I live in Florida. So cotton socks would make a whole lot more sense than wool. But I just hadn't gotten around to it yet. And so this is all cotton socks. And the kicker of making this possible was the fact that they had these two colors that are both turquoisey, but there's a light and a dark. And they look really close to the BMO yarn. So that's going to be the main. And then I have a mixture of several brands for my stash that are going to be BMO's button colors. They're striped on the sock. And so that is sitting in the bag and waiting for me to cast it on. I haven't actually cast it on yet, which is kind of surprising. I even filmed my intro to the video that's going to be about these socks, but I did not cast them on yet. So that is going to be what comes after this next project that I kind of been sucked into that has become my traveling sock. And this is going to be something else that you see in a future video. But I have been making banana socks out of banana yarn. So the cool thing with banana socks is the whole idea is normally with a sock, you have to knit the leg, stop, knit the heel, and then rejoin everything and knit the foot and the toe. This relies completely on the stretchability of knit and purl stitches, and there's no heel. So when you do that, because of the way that you are constructing the knits and purl stitches, it makes it sort of banana curl. And I had seen these types of socks before, and in my shopping Mercari yarn video that I put up, I mentioned how I got this yarn. It's called Havana Banana by Machete Yarns. So it's a hand-dyed fancy yarn, and looks very pink on this, but it's mostly yellow, but it does have some cool flecks of pink. And so as soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh, I need to make banana socks out of these. And so it's another that I've kind of had to zhuzh the pattern. The pattern is free, and I will link that below. But it's for a sport weight yarn, so I had to change it to a gauge that I knew would fit me in size 1 needles with fingering weight yarn. But it's working out great. I've tried it on a few times, and so this is the point that it's at right now. And it does banana on its own. I'm honestly almost done with this. I think I have maybe like 2.5, 3 inches left to go. And it's shockingly fast to knit these things when you don't have to knit a heel. So once these are done, then I'm going to be casting on the BMO socks, and those will be my project that I carry around with me all the time. Okay, this next one is very large, and it's taking up multiple bags, and it's covering my whole lap right now. This is, again, going to be another video. I thought I was going to get this done for July and be cute and have a Christmas in July video. And that didn't happen. I just had too many other things going on, but it very likely is going to be done in August, so you'll see it sometime soon. But this is my Christmas sweater for this year. It was a couple of months ago now that I saw the Christmas lights sweater on Hobie, and it's a free pattern. It's a crocheted sweater. I have never crocheted a garment. I've crocheted all kinds of other things, and I consider myself a very advanced crocheter, actually. I can design crochet patterns and things like that, yet I've never crocheted any garment, like other than a hat and things like that. So I'd been wanting to make a sweater, and then I saw this Christmas lights one, and I had a lot of the yarn already that I could do it with. I just needed a couple of the metallic-y ones. And so I took the plunge, and like I say, I was trying to do Christmas in July, but I did end up deviating from the pattern a pretty decent bit if you have an eye for for patterning. I don't know if you can even see. So I used the cast on amounts for the bottom, like it's done from the bottom up. But then I wanted it to not be drop shoulder. I kind of hate drop shoulder on myself. So I just eyeballed how to make shoulder shaping. And so now I have a very fancy vest at the moment that's not connected at the sides. But the cool thing is, look at the Christmas lights. These are done in metallic yarn. So the red, purple, and blue are called Flash It from Hobie, but I had this gold already. It is a Ralph Lauren sweater that I unraveled from a thrift store years ago, and I've never figured out what to do with it. And it's a rayon blend. I saved the tag off of the sweater, and so it's like a rayon Stellina poly kind of thing, but it's super slick. And so it hasn't been really good. It also separated like no one's business when I unraveled it. And this was, I didn't know that it would do that, but it's honestly, even in this project, been kind of a nightmare to work with. It's so slick, it doesn't want to tie into knots on the back. And that's how I've been securing all of these. So it's insanity on the inside of this thing right now, but it's so fun. There are these 3D sparkly baubles. The base yarn is Hobie Friends cotton, and this is the 8/8 size. It's like a DK weight, 100% cotton. And I think that this was called like Parrot, this color, but on their labels they only just put the number of the color. It's color number 103. One of my favorite colors of green. So I've had this a little while. It's amazing how many of these little guys it takes to make a sweater, because I had 2 bags of this, 2 10-packs of this yarn, and I have already used 1 whole 10-pack plus on the sleeve, which I have not shown you yet. I've already used a couple of skeins there. So the body is going to be fitted with a set-in sleeve, and then the sleeves are like straight up Carmen Miranda big. I did the sleeves with the original pattern casting on numbers and everything. And yeah, it's feeling very over the top. But I mean, it's a silly Christmas sweater. Why not make it with ridiculous sleeves? I'm covered in like essentially metallic yarn nipples. So, why not? It's been slower going than I thought, because making all of these bobble stitches and then stopping to cut the yarn and tie every single one, it takes so much longer. It really does disrupt the flow when you're on the light row, the bobble stitch row, and then you just sail through the plain double crochet stitch sections. But yeah, this has been the main one that I've been working on at night when we like wind down. I have this sleeve above my elbow. For the shoulder area shaping on the sleeve, I'm just eyeballing it. I honestly just Google searched how to set in sleeves on crochet, and I found several images that just showed a laid out flat piece. And so I have done enough crocheting that I can be like, oh, okay, I need to decrease here, I need to do this. So I'm just kind of looking at a picture and crocheting it, which is kind of bizarre that I can do that. And it's funny because I mostly knit, but I'm so much more accomplished at crocheting. Like I can do that with crocheting. I can just look at something and reproduce it. But in knitting, forget it. I absolutely have to have a pattern, because there's so much more pre-planning that goes along with knitting. Like you have to make sure you have the right number of stitches and make them do things. Where crochet, you just have the one stitch that's active, right? And then you can go from there. So I don't know, one of these days, I always feel like that would make me decent at the freeform crochet stuff. So one of these days, maybe I'll try that. But for now, I am making my first crocheted garment, and it is ridiculous, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. But it's huge. Like it's taking up so much space, and I have all my metallics in my Knit Picks bag that you can separate them. So, it's craziness, but it's been a lot of fun. And it's nice to think of the fact that I'm actually going to have my Christmas sweater done well before Christmas. So I'll be able to wear it like the whole month of December, which is kind of nice. I never do that. I'm one of those who's like the last couple of days before Christmas, I finish it anytime I have done it before. So when I cast on my Christmas sweater, I was toying between that one and the Bobble Up top. This is another free pattern from Hobie. And again, I already had a lot of the yarn to use on it. I just had to kind of hone in what colors I wanted to do. This is also done in Hobie Friends cotton, but it's in the 8/4 size, which is fingering weight. But it's 100% cotton. It's nice and soft. I had collected quite a few colors of this yarn over the time that they put it on sale, and I'd be like, ooh, let me grab a few skeins in this one, in this color. Let me try this color. Like, I think I thought I was going to make small amigurumi or something for a while, and so I have amassed a decent little stash of this yarn because it's very inexpensive because they're such small skeins. So when I saw the Bobble Up top, it got my wheels turning, like, what colors do I already have? And so I had white, so that's going to be the base color. And I did start to make like a gauge swatch. So this one's kind of in progress, but hasn't officially started yet. Here's my foundation chain. So it's going to have white as the base. And then for the colors in between the white, I'm going to use this collection. And of course, I did not write these colors down, so I can't totally remember. I want to say this one was something turquoise and this was mint. This one's eucalyptus. I know that. So these two are going to be at the top since I had two of these. So the section at the top has your shoulders and your top part of your sleeve. And so it took two skeins of that. Then I'm going to have the eucalyptus under those. And then I want to say this one is peach and this one's coral, but we're going to go in this progression. So this is going to be the very bottom. This is going to be closest to my face. And yeah, I'm actually really excited to do this because, again, I've never crocheted garments before and the other one's going really well. In this time, when I haven't had a lot of time like I used to sit down and really just, guilt-free work on my projects that I wanted to make as far as clothes for myself, I haven't had that time. And so now that I have gotten into doing crocheting a garment, I'd like to make a t-shirt. It's something that I wanted to knit as well, knit a t-shirt, but crochet just goes so much faster. So when I saw that I had this yarn, I just decided that this would be a fun color progression. These are all colors I really like. So yeah, this is going to be pretty soon, honestly. At least once I finish the Christmas sweater, I'm definitely going to start doing the Bobble Up top. Now we are into my stack of yarn here that I pulled out. So one of the things that I really want to do is I enjoy making shawls, and I haven't gotten to do it all that much just because they don't feel very practical, but I love this yarn. This is, what do they call this? They call it selective pooling or something, where almost the whole skein is a solid color and then it has these pops. They pool in a way that looks like a flower. So this is from A Chick That Knits, and this is the Songbird colorway. It's assigned pooling. That's the word, assigned pooling. And so she doesn't have a pattern specifically designed for this. She has people she's partnered with, but they take like 3 skeins of this yarn, and I don't need a 3 skein shawl. I like small shawls that take like 1, and that would get really expensive. This was a bit of a splurge yarn for me anyway. So I have decided that I want to make the Hitchhiker. This is one that has been incredibly popular since I started knitting 13 years ago, and yet I've never made it. I have the pattern, so I think that this will be really fun. And so what I'm doing for that is doing the Hitchhiker, and then the way that assigned pooling works is you just do this basic kind of stitch, and then when you get to the pooling colors, you stop and you do this other type of stitch to really accentuate it, make it kind of flowery. So that's the idea, but it's this really pretty tonal plummy color. I think it'd be really, really pretty, and it'll be fun to wear in the winter times. Sometime in the near future, I'm getting kind of burnt out on projects that I have assigned myself. So feels like a frivolous break. And so that's going to happen sometime soon. Next, I have my project that this one, if you have been here since I started this channel, if you've been here since last summer even, you've heard me talk about the Four Seasons blouse from Squid School of Vintage Knitting, and I have wanted to make this. I swatched a different yarn, and I really wanted to make that work, but it wasn't giving me the gauge that I needed to. And with moving and all the other things that I have had to be doing in this last year, it just hasn't happened. But I still love this sweater, and I know that I would wear the daylights out of it. And so when Knit Picks had their summer sale and it had this color of Knit Pick Stroll in it, I mean, it's just so fun and bright, and I love Stroll. And I've made Sydney's other sweater pattern that's kind of like this. I made the Rose Street cardigan in Knit Pick Stroll, and it's one of my favorite sweaters I've ever made. I just adore it. So now I'm thinking, because I got a 10 pack of this yarn because I just love it. I knew that I would use it for a sweater, and then whatever was left over, this would be great for colorwork socks and things like that. So this, I believe, is going to be a Four Seasons sweater this winter sometime. It's just such a fun color, and I don't have a sweater this color, I don't think. I might have like a ready to wear one because I really like bright yellow, but I think this is a really great yellow for me. I know butter yellow is the thing right now, but I am not colored for a butter yellow at all. So that's not going to happen, but lemon yellow, that I can get behind. So that will be coming in the next few months, hopefully in the fall, winter time. And then the last one that I have planned, I wanted to make this the last several months and I didn't cast it on. I got really into pattern testing and I don't know. So we're going to see if this happens. Yeah, you'll see. Months and months ago, Wool and Pine had a sale on all their colorwork projects, and they counted their extra light bright shirt as one of the ones that was on sale. And so I grabbed the pattern. I had seen it in other people, and it's just a really simple t-shirt, but it's designed to fade yarn, which I realize I'm very late to the trend on this, but I've never done a fade. And I really suddenly want to try it. So I started looking through my stash of things that I thought might fade really well. And the problem was I came up with too many different options, and I've weeded out several, but I have a couple of them left. So this is where you guys can tell me which one you think would look best. This one's a little unconventional until you consider that Knit Picks actually sells this as a mini skein pack, and I've seen people do shawls out of it, and it looks really cool. So these are all Knit Picks Stroll. This is pearlescent, koi pond, eucalyptus, base camp, and guppy. And I have acquired these over several years of them doing their big sale with the 246 at the summertime and on Black Friday. And so I realized when I saw somebody had made a shawl with the mini pack, I thought about buying the mini pack. And then I'm like, wait a minute, I think I own all the full skeins of those colors. And sure enough, I did. So I don't know. I was laying it out and showing my husband, and he wasn't all that jazzed about it. I was thinking it would be kind of like this, with the orange at the base, and then have a variegated in between each of the tonals. And the tonals are represented in each of those variegated, so it all kind of goes. This feels like holding a puppy or something. But I don't know. I think it's fun colors. They are colors I would wear. I've used koi pond before. I made the Raina shawl with this several years ago, and I still really like it. So yeah, this is my first contender for the extra light bright top. I have a couple of others I'm still contemplating, but this is the other one that I had in my queue because it was thought about so much that I actually wrote it down. So these are all Knit Picks Hawthorne. And so this is Burlingame, Arletta, Rose City Multi, and Eugene in Hawthorne. And it is kind of funny. I mean, I pulled these out because I had them saved on my Ravelry queue, and I pulled them out and I'm like, man, this one seems almost like it doesn't go. It's very bright pink, and it's showing that way on the camera too. So maybe this, I don't know. Maybe I don't do all four of these. Maybe I do I don't know, but that's not enough of a fade. So yeah, I don't know. This is a little more, these are a little more tonal, but this was another that I was contemplating for the extra light bright. And out of the two, I mean, I have so many skeins of hawthorn, and yet I have not made anything with hawthorn. And it's not a bad yarn at all. It's a nice hardy wool, but it's soft for that, if that makes sense. And the problem is when I grab Stroll is so pillowy soft. Like, it's quite a difference. This is soft, but this is soft and cushy soft. And so I'm more attracted to this as far as how it feels. But there's some beautiful colors in Hawthorn. And it's kind of unfortunate because I do have a kind of large stash of Hawthorn, and yet I constantly overthrow it and pick Stroll instead. So I don't know. I mean, I have this. I'm not sure. I have another one that I actually showed in my Mercari yarn buying video, and they're over in a bucket somewhere. You can see that on the Mercari yarn buying video, but there are 3 different hand dyed skeins from Hue Loco that all kind of go into each other a bit. So I don't know. I have so much indecision about which skeins to fade that I haven't made this. And so, I mean, realistically, yes, for everyone else, this is the end of summer, right? We're in August. This is Florida. It's usually like 75 degrees on Christmas Day. So I know that I would still be able to wear this for months to come. It's not like I would be knitting something seasonally inappropriate. Short sleeves is always appropriate for Florida. So it's mostly just the indecision of colors and which one is really pulling at me. So if you have a preference, let me know if you like the Stroll Koi Pond yarns or the pinky purple Hawthorn yarns, or if I should just go with some of my crazy hand-dyed skeins. I was also thinking about using my Hedgehog Fibers sock yarn in Fly, which is another that I showed on that Mercari yarn video. I'm not going to do acquisitions here because I I showed all of the stuff I got on Mercari in that video. So if you're interested in seeing what I have acquired in this time, that's your place to go and see it. As far as life, I did build a duck coop, which I made a video about. And then I also made a chicken coop, which was last week's video. And man, was that a saga. But I am so glad it's done. And we did figure out, my husband and I, if we both get on there together, we can pull it. So at least it has been able to move in the yard. But man, that took up so much of my last month. But we did also get to go to a couple of concerts in this time period. So back in April, we saw OMD, which, if you are an 80s new wave fan, you should know who Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark is. They sang If You Leave from Pretty in Pink. So if you're a new wave fan, that's them. And they were opened by Walt Disco, which was fun. They were interesting. But man, they sold it. Like, I got to give it to them. And then in June, we saw Peter Hook and the Light, which, again, if you're a new wave fan, Peter Hook was the bassist for Joy Division and New Order. So the whole first half of the concert was him and his replacement band because they've separated. He's no longer with New Order. They were playing their entire Circle album, which, interestingly, he and one of the other members of New Order wrote, but then they never toured with it. So it was like the 25th anniversary of Circle, which was really cool. They played the entire album and it was awesome. But then the second half of the show, like, they did a little intermission and then came back and played a bunch of Joy Division and New Order songs. And it was, I think, the most fun I've ever had dancing at a concert, or at least in a very long time, because everyone was dancing and it was so awesome. They were so great live. So that was really fun. And then at the end of July, we actually drove a couple of hours north, went to Jacksonville so that we could see Ryan Adams. He did an acoustic set and he didn't allow any videography of his performance. So I don't have any film, but I have a couple of pictures. And we also made a pilgrimage to Buc-ee's along the way, which, as a Southerner, that feels like I was supposed to to go there, and now I have. So now I'm truly a member of the South. So we've gotten to go to a couple of concerts. Things have been crazy. I've been trying to get my other house ready to sell. And so I'm so mentally done with all of it. I can't wait for it to be finished because then I can work on my current house more, and then we have other things coming up that it's, once you clear one stressful thing away, you just fill it with more. So, but here we are. It is August. Life goes on. School has started. So I'm still enjoying making things, and I'm grateful that I have that as my release because I have not been able to sew anything. I did do my ModCloth clothing alterations videos in June. Felt like I was taking my attention away from things that I needed to do and spending it sewing. So it felt very frivolous to do. Knitting and crocheting I can carry with me. So when I'm waiting somewhere, like when I go pick my kids up from school, I mean, obviously not in the summer. Now that school's back, I'm going to have a lot more knitting time because of when I have to drop them off. I have knitting time in the morning. I have it in the middle of the day when I pick them up. So we're going to see how much more gets churned out now that I'm back into the regular swing of not summertime. But that is everything that I have been making for the last 4 months. If you enjoyed this, please do give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to stick around, see how these works in progress turn out. I am always making videos about the things that I am making. Let me know what your opinion is on what color you think I should make that top. We'll see if I actually get it going. One of these days I will. Even if it doesn't happen now, it'll happen in the spring or something. So eventually I will make myself a knitted t-shirt. Let me know what you've been working on in this time. Have you accomplished very much? Did you become obsessed with socks like I did? I'd really love to find out. So until next time, I hope that all of your projects are going great, and I will see you next week.